Yo, what's up, everybody? It's DfsDudes back with my boy DetroitBeastie for another edition of the NHL Morning Skate. A little bit into the afternoon on the East Coast, but hey, that's all right. We're going to get this video up and done. As always, if you haven't already, please click the subscribe button below. Enable the notifications by clicking the bell, and make sure you like this video. That way you can catch all of our live videos for NFL, NBA, MLB, and the NHL. We're also doing podcasts for NASCAR and for PGA. Had a bunch of content for PGA up. Hope you guys check that out. Don't miss Tyler Miller's NASCAR content he'll produce for this week's NASCAR race. What's up, man?
How you doing? Sorry I cut out yesterday. You were right. Snowstorm had me buried, but we've dug out, and I've dug into hockey, and we're ready to roll tonight, baby.
A lot of snow yesterday, huh?
Yeah, it all hit right as we were doing the videos when it started to get the strongest. So I'd say about 6.5 inches where I am now. Leave all your jokes and puns aside, just talking snow.
It was really funny because about 4:30 my time, Pacific time, 7:30 your time, we had talked a little bit before that, and you were showing me the radar, and there was like a calm between the two storms, and then
Yes.
you would text me like 7:30 your time and a picture of the snow outside, and I text you a picture from the fifth fairway of the golf course that I was on in California and said,
Yeah,
it's 75 degrees. Just crazy how there's two differences in weather, in two different parts of the country.
I sent you a picture from my porch, right? And it was like a winter wasteland. You know, there was like nobody's out. The animals are gone. Like nothing was going on. It was like an apocalypse. And usually, I mean, in Michigan, it's winter. So what do you expect? But no one was out last night, which is a good thing. People don't normally stay off the roads in Michigan. They think, well, I'm from Michigan and I can handle anything. So we're good to go. It's sunny and probably about 15, 20 degrees here. So that's doable.
My kid, you're not to rub it in, but my kids came home from school yesterday and they asked if they could jump in the pool, and I said, "Knock yourself out." The pool's like 58 degrees, and they swam for an hour. So that's how warm it is in California. Anyway, let's get into the slate.
Sure.
First game, you've got the Rangers at Montreal. Montreal minus 130. You got a 5.5 over under here. There's some stuff we've targeted over the past week and a half or so with the Rangers. They roll into Montreal tonight. Any interest in this one?
I do. I'd like to go with Montreal too tonight. Nick Suzuki, Joel Armia, and Arturi Letkinen. And the Rangers, they're on fire right now, but they travel to Montreal. On paper, if you looked into some things, you'll see that it should be swayed the Rangers' way. But much like last night, you know, when we got into the Pittsburgh at LA game last night, Montreal has had some success against the Rangers, and they're 4-1, and they're scoring 3 goals a game in their last 5 games with the Rangers. So still look for a close one. I'm thinking 2-1, 3-2, but I'm completely comfortable firing up their second line tonight.
And the news that Igor is not going to be in the net tonight with a rib injury, so that kind of opens up the door for that with Grigoriev and Lundqvist. Who do you think's in the net tonight?
I think they're going to go Lundqvist tonight. He's the old crafty veteran, tried and true. But obviously, Father Time catches up with us all. He's not the goalie he once was, so that's why they've brought Igor in with great success. But tonight, I'm going Montreal, no matter who's in goal.
No matter who's in the goal, you heard it here first. Chicago's at Tampa Bay. No line available on this at the current moment as far as the over-under goes, but 143 is what Tampa Bay is, minus 143. You've liked Tampa Bay in the past. We've also used Chicago in the past. We've talked at length about kind of the mess they've had in Chicago, messing with their lines with Patrick Kane, etc. Any interest on either side of this tonight?
Absolutely. I'm going Tampa Bay 1 tonight. You can't go wrong. I actually found an over-under in this one. It's 6.5 goals. And I'd be hard-pressed in pulling away that Tampa isn't a large portion. Tampa doesn't score a large portion of those 6 goals tonight. Tampa is on a back-to-back. Tampa's, they're back to stacking their lines like these juggernaut lines, you know. And I don't think speaking of goalies, I don't think whoever Chicago puts in goal can handle all the shots they're going to put on net. Chicago's lost back-to-back games while Tampa is looking to get right. I think it's a get-right game for Tampa. Expects a ton of shots. Tampa wins 4-1, 5-1-ish.
The old slump buster is what you're breaking out today.
Absolutely, yeah.
The old slump buster. Toronto at Florida. Huge over under in this one. Anytime that I'm looking and I see a 7 and an over under in a hockey game, I'm like, whoa. So, that could open up the opportunity for some chalk in this one. I see Toronto in this one as minus 108. You may have it a little bit different on what you're looking at, but the over under of 7, big over under, you have to have interest here.
Absolutely. I like both Toronto 1. Let's keep it simple. We'll go, Toronto 2. But I also like Florida 1 tonight. As I wrote in the article tonight, and you guys can see it, it'll be published right after this video is done. Toronto is in Florida, and I expect a playoff atmosphere tonight because both teams they're not scrounging per se, but they need wins. They need points. Although Toronto is 0-5 in their last 5 games following a win. I know it's those odd stats, but those are the things I cling to, if that makes any sense, when I build my lines up. And Toronto is actually 0-6 their last 6 games in Florida. Toronto is, I believe, they're scoring about 3.5 goals a game. And I don't think the Leafs fold in this one. Again, I don't care who wins. We just want goals. So I'm going to go Toronto 2 and Florida 1. Jonathan Huberdeau, Barkov, and Dadoff, all 3 guys for Florida, play on the first line and the power play line. They're all in that $6,000 to $7,000 range. But like you said, sometimes you just got to eat chalk, keep pace with the field, and then you just can sneak in with those, other games, those line 3 and 4s.
Yeah, we actually had a really interesting debate in our Discord chat last night going on with Al Horford with basketball and how
very spirited.
How Al Horford ended up being such a chalk play when he was such a bad play. And that's some of the stuff you can click on the link below, hop in our Discord chat. We've got a lot of good stuff in there, debates like the Al Horford debate. And you're always hopping in there and updating lines and stacks and who you like as well. So, and the link for Hot Pucking Stacks, the article which you mentioned will go up after this video is also in the link that is in a link down below as well. Moving on, we've got Dallas and Boston. Boston minus 170, a lower over under in this one. It's only 5. Vegas expects some defense. Do you like a goalie in this one? Do you like any stacks in this one?
I don't have anything that sticks out to me as a publication kind of piece, but you can't get away from Boston. I mean, if you want to do a one-off from their top line, I mean, you can't go wrong with them. I mean, Patrice Bergeron is a points machine. He's $7,800. I might get raked over the coals for saying this, but I'm just going to stay away from this game because I can't put my finger on what's going on. I like Dallas. I have them around 2.3 for their goal implication, while I have Boston at 2.8 to 3 goals. Nothing's set in stone with this one for me, so I'm going to stay away from it. If it goes nuts, then I'll own it. But as it stands right now, a few one-offs, and that's about it. Can't go wrong with Sagan. Obviously, he's a point-per-game kind of guy. And then might as well keep running that Corey Perry train. It was a hot thing we did a couple days ago, and he's still only 3,600. I could see about 8 to 10 points from him, which is super solid for a guy that cheap. But for the most part, just pick and choose guys from this game. Not a definite stack here.
Corey Perry, you hit the nail on the head. We had him back on February the 18th or 19th. He had 30.6 points, and the price was the same, 30.6. Since then, 12.8 against Chicago. Not such a great game against Carolina, but he plays 12 to 15 minutes a game, and he's got goal upside. And like you broke down before, he's on a projected first line. So that's kind of how that goes. So moving right along, we've got Vancouver at Ottawa. Another over under in the 6s at 6.5, and Vancouver's minus 165. What kind of action you like in this one?
I'm all over Vancouver 2 tonight. As you'll see later, I'm all in on Vancouver 2 and Minnesota 3. We'll get to that shortly. But Vancouver 2, that's the well I keep going back to. And now since they've added Tyler Toffoli, and it's been a seamless transition with him in that second line. JT Miller, Peterson, and Toffoli playing together. It's been fantastic. Canucks are in Ottawa tonight, and I can't think of a aside from my Detroit Red Wings, Ottawa's pretty miserable too. I won't get into the Senator stats for record or anything, and the home away splits because they're awful. The only thing that matters to me is Vancouver is 4-0 against Ottawa their last 4 games, and like you said, another heavy over under. I expect really poor defense on Ottawa's part, and Vancouver has their way with them, and they skate away 4-2, 5-1 in this one. Stack Vancouver 2, heavy with confidence.
Speaking of your Detroit Red Wings, I have a feeling in this next game, Minnesota at Detroit, that you might like somebody in this one. And I have a feeling at 5.5 over under, you may be thinking this game may go over. Minnesota's minus 230 in this one, a 5.5 over under. It is against the aforementioned Detroit Red Wings. What are you thinking here?
Well, I think since you've given me this opportunity to write content for you, I don't think I've ever stacked the Red Wings. It's been quite the it's been quite the opposite. I've been telling the people whenever the Red Wings play, stack against them, and there's no way I'm going to get away from that tonight. It's an oddball move tonight, but I like Minnesota's third line. Marcus Foligno, he's playing on the power play too. Alex Galenchuk, power play too, and Matt Zuccarello. He was a stud in New York. He's putting up numbers with Minnesota. He's also on the power play 2 unit. The Wild they're playing some of their best hockey on the road. They come to Detroit tonight, and if I'm not mistaken, they're averaging about 3.5 goals a game. Their top 2 lines are quite sufficient, but I'm going to just pluck Minnesota 3, from the bunch tonight. Minnesota wins 4-1, and if you'll notice, hopefully this pays off. I'm not saying I'm massive. We're like thousands of people listen to me, but everyone's going to be on Minnesota 1 and 2, right? But then if you can sneak Minnesota 3 in, you get some power play 2 exposure. They're cheap, and you might be able to get just as much value with their third line at half the price, and then it allows you to stack let's say Boston 1 or a 1-off with them, or even, the next game we get to, Washington 1 tonight. So go with Minnesota 3 tonight. Can't go wrong with either line, but just letting you know I'm all in on the Wild's third line tonight.
That is such a crucial point that you covered, and it's part of what we do every single day with the content we produce. It's, if you just read the article and you don't have a process, and again, a process is what we try to help you develop as well. When you're talking about, or you read an article and you see why Minnesota 3, well, part of that has to do with leverage on the field, right? If you're able to get value in a spot where everybody else is paying up, and that value is equal in production to what you paid up for is, not only do you have lower ownership, but you're a completely different build than everybody else, and you've out-leveraged the field in another spot. So what a great point. Moving right along, the Islanders are in St. Louis, 5.5 over under there. St. Louis minus 170. Lower over under with some of these higher over unders out there on this big slate. Do you have a lot of interest in this game?
I don't. I looked over it. There's a couple one-offs I like. Again, not going all in on a stack one way or another. The readers of Hot Pucking Stacks, you'll know I try to set up maybe it reads like a story in a way. Like I try to set up trends and let you guys know certain teams and stacks that I like, just to bring these guys to light. Like New York Islanders, you don't think of them. I know I don't ever think of them as like some big fantasy powerhouse, but their first line has been pretty productive lately. Matthew Barzal, Anders Lee, they've put up some good stats, and I could see that first line, with a goal, 2 assists, and that's all you need, and they're quite cheap, $6,400 for Barzal, and Anders Lee is the same price, and I see them each over 12 to 13 fantasy points today. So I think, again, they're both good one-offs. I don't want to stack one game heavy either way, because as you said, the over-under isn't what I like it to be, and St. Louis is projected to win. They have like a 63% win projection tonight, and nothing like jumps out of the page to me tonight. So just a couple one-offs, nothing crazy.
Calgary's at Nashville. This is a minus 130 game for Nashville, a 6 over under. Talk to me about this one.
Well, the other night I was all in on Nashville. I don't think they burned me, but it wasn't what we've grown accustomed to with hot pucking stacks, like you go all in, or you give you a stack, and then the line has 2-3 goals and a ton of assists. I could see a point here where we can get into some Nashville too. I don't have it in the article this evening, but Matt Duchene, Victor Arvidsson, and Jarnock, they all play on the second line. They all play on the power play 2 together. They're all quite cheap. They're all under $5,500, and I could see 10, 12 points apiece. I'm going to stay away from Calgary here because Nashville, the last few seasons, and this is just off the top of my head, they really start to turn it on this time of year, and they're in Nashville at Bridgestone. That city is just crazy for their Predators. It's just going to be a wild atmosphere, and I don't think Calgary does much here. I do have them for like 2.5, maybe 3 goals, but I just don't see that happening tonight. Nashville walks away 4-1 win.
There's a guy I like in this game, and we'll see what your opinion is on it. But me, from a fantasy, looking at it from just a player standpoint and applying some of the same things I look at, you look at a guy like Flip Forsberg, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at with him is volume, right? The minutes he's playing between 16 and 20 minutes, but he's had at least 3 shots on goal in 4 of his last 5 games. And against St. Louis, last time he played St. Louis, 6 shots on goal, 19.2 points. For me, the volume of what he's getting from a shot standpoint, and he's only $6,700, looks like a really good one-off play in this one. What do you think?
Oh, I'm with you, and that's why I like doing these videos, because if I miss something, you're able to add it in, and vice versa. And that's the joy to these things. You and I have a conversation together, and we're working it out in our head amongst ourselves, and the people that get to read the articles or watch these videos, they prosper from this. You're right. And people don't think, like the casual hockey DFS person, they don't realize that shots on goal accumulate points, and they're huge. So if he has 4 shots on goal, 6 shots on goal, that's as many points as an actual goal itself, if I'm not mistaken, if you add up the points. Never was a big math major, but I could see a point where if you're taking that many shots on goal, one of them's gonna find the back of the net.
It's just he's almost too active to not be in consideration, especially for a one-off play. So moving right along, we got Washington at Winnipeg. Big celebration. I think it was last night, so Washington should be on a back-to-back, right? Big celebration for Ovi for his 700 goals, and
Correct.
then in this one, Washington's minus 150, the over-under 6.5. Who are you liking here?
Well, I don't often brag. I'm not in the business of doing that, but I'm going to tell you something real quick. I sent you a screenshot the other night about trying to warn, people that read the article, and then even in our Discord chat, about how well Ovechkin plays. There's like his top 5 teams, the most goals scored against teams, and Winnipeg was number 2 on that list. I sent the graphic. I sent my the sample line 5-10 minutes before lock, and not even 2 minutes into the game against Winnipeg at home, he scored, right? So tonight, Washington is in Winnipeg. It's a heavy over-under. It's going to be a slugfest. I'm all in. No, I wouldn't say all in, excuse me, but I really like Washington 1 tonight. Ovi, line 1, power play 1, power play 2. Guy never comes off the ice. He likes that right circle on the power play. And it has a high over-under for goals, and I think every bit of that hits. And I'm stacking Washington 1 tonight, not even thinking twice.
The crazy thing is we talk about Flip as far as shots on goal go. And I mean, Ovechkin, if you compare the two guys, Ovechkin has a ridiculous amount of shots he's getting off, especially if you just look back in the month of February. You go back, he had January 31st, 11 shots on goal against Ottawa. And then every game since then, he's had at least 3 shots on goal with as many as 8, 7, 6. So, I mean, the volume is what I'm looking at from my perspective when I'm looking at guys, right? I know you're looking at the stack as a whole, but for me, when I see this volume and you're getting points for shots without scoring a goal, I want a guy who's going to take a lot of shots, because not only am I getting, we always say it, right? Minutes equal opportunity, opportunity equals production, production equals fantasy points. And if you're getting that much opportunity, taking that many shots, like you just said, sooner or later, stuff's going to find the back of the net.
Since years back when I started playing NHL DFS, not to bore you, quick story here, I always used to look for teams to stack. I mean, that's what we do, right? But then I didn't even think about defensemen. I filled up my skaters, made sure I had a good goalie, and then I just put in the cheapest defenseman that had the most opportunity. The cheapest guy playing the most minutes on a power play one would be fantastic. So following with that, I do like a Winnipeg defenseman tonight, Neil Pionk. He plays on the first line. He's on the power play one unit. He's only $4,600, and I could see him getting an assist tonight, about 10 or 11 fantasy points. So if you're looking for guys to just fill in at defense, go with Neil tonight for Winnipeg.
Last game of the slate, New Jersey's at San Jose. San Jose just, I mean, what an abomination for the San Jose.
Don't even get me started. Let's compare them to the Wings. That'll be another episode.
But I'm looking at San Jose minus 135, a favorite in this one with a 6 over under. Is there any fantasy goodness in this one that we could talk about?
No, but I do. You knew that was coming. If I had to, I'll give you two guys, and I'll give you a reason behind each one. I like Nico Hershiser. He centers the first line for New Jersey. He's playing a ton of minutes. He's on the top line, first power play unit. Last night and even into this afternoon, I've been running, just plugging guys in and running optimizers and just doing stuff, and he's always popping up, right? So it's not grounds for like a full-blown New Jersey one stack or anything, but I could see Nico as a good one-off. Why not? He's $5,000, ton of opportunity, like you said, seems to be the theme of the video today, which is great. And then on San Jose side, just a quick shout out to a kid who messages me. We correspond each day. We send sample lines back and forth. Joe Thornton. He's always very low owned. Yes, he's old. He's got this big gray beard, but he's only $4,200. He plays on the first line, first power play unit. You could probably speak on this more than me. I don't know how many minutes a game he's getting, but the other night, me and this kid were corresponding. Joe Thornton scores a goal and has like 3 or 4 shots. Guy had 20 plus fantasy points, and he just fell by the wayside. And I said, if this guy hits again, I'll give you a shout out. The next night, Thornton had a goose egg, 0.0. So just a quick shout out to you. Let's put Joe Thornton in there and see what he does.
Playing about 18 minutes, I was going to ask you about Thornton for one simple fact. There's some sentimental value. I know San Jose made a couple of trades at the deadline. They gave Joe Thornton the opportunity to get traded out of there and maybe chase a ring. And he chose to stay. He said, no, I'm staying here. This is where I want to be. I'm going to stay here. So from a sentimental standpoint, they've been on the road. They've been on this 4-game road trip. They come back. I believe the game you're talking about was against the Rangers, where he had 4 shots on goal. He had a power play goal.
Correct.
He had 2 goals, 1 power play goal, and he had 30.9 fantasy points. So, that's the guy I was kind of thinking about, just the sentimental value of a guy who, I'm in Northern California, so I can speak about this. I'm sure everybody in their sports town probably feels the same way about their teams, but San Francisco and the Bay Area is a different place for all sports. I mean, you can look at what the Warriors do and how loud that place is still, and their team's terrible, and they flip the Chase Center. The fact that this guy chose not to be traded, I just feel tonight that the fans are going to appreciate that. They're going to give him some type of an ovation when he hits the ice. You can take a baseball player like Pablo Sandoval. I mean, Pablo Sandoval was a folk hero in San Francisco, gets traded out or signs with Boston. He's terrible. He's a walking meme for breaking his belt, right? He goes back to San Francisco, his first at bat, to give him a standing ovation. It's just a real loyal fan base. They're not Johnny come lately, hot, cold, like you when you a winning team, bitch about you when you're losing. I think that Thornton's a guy that tonight I like for sentimental reasons, because just being here, I think that the fans will show appreciation of the guy for not wanting to bone out on a team that's not playing well.
I agree, and not to get sidetracked, I just want you to realize that Pablo Sandoval killed my Tigers in the World Series a few years ago. 3 or 4 home runs, But as far as Joe Thornton is concerned, I agree with what you're saying, and he's older than me. He's older than you. Who likes to pack up their stuff and move anywhere? It's the least favorite thing of mine. So who knows what he's thinking. He's always been a good dude, no issues. And as a one-off, I hope he scores tonight and the Shark Tank goes nuts.
Yeah. Well, that's it, man. We're out of here for today's slate. Make sure that you check the link below for hot pucking stacks. That will be up in the next couple of minutes. As always, thanks for doing the video, man. And
You're welcome.
Good luck on your guys' contest tonight. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Enable notifications so you're notified every time we go live with an NFL, NBA, NHL, or any other video that we do, especially the NBA. Be cool. Keep it cashing. Peace out.